how is Puffy responsible for Tupac's murder?
Greg Kading of the Los Angeles Police Department has been working on the cold cases of Tupac and the Notorious Big's killings since 2006. Their findings were surprising, considering that they suggested that Diddy could be the murderer they have been looking for a long time. Take a look. To begin with, the LAPD detective who goes by the name Greg Kading has been on the Tupac and Biggie murder case for quite some time now. And now, in Big 2023, he has finally let some of those findings come to light. Let's just say that the findings are not at all ordinary. The nature of such conclusions seems to be pretty major and turn-taking.
Detective Greg Kading says he has proof it was Sean Diddy Combs who orchestrated the murder.
For starters, he has concluded that Orlando Anderson, a member of the Crip gang in Compton, was responsible for Tupac's death, where Anderson's uncle, who went by the name Kev D, was the star witness for the task force. He also said he was in the white Cadillac when shots were fired, and that Sean Diddy Combs had given his group $500,000 to kill Tupac and another $500,000 to kill Suge Knight. Nevertheless, he said he was never paid for his alleged involvement in the murders. According to the retired detective, if his intention was to just get away with it, so to speak, it would have been very easy for him to not include all the details that he did.
I'm going to disclose the facts as they are. I mean, whether they're dead or alive, I'm going to tell the same story because that's my job, is to get to the truth of the matter.
Greg Kading, on the other hand, has further disclosed that Biggie was murdered by a member of the mob Peru blood named Wardell Poochie Faust, who was paid $13,000 by Death Row Records founder Suge Knight. Kading refers to the mother of one of Suge's children as Teresa Swan to conceal her identity and testify as a critical witness. Moving on, Diddy claims he had nothing to do with Tupac's murder. Knight, who is presently incarcerated on a different murder charge, is unavailable for comment from any media outlet. He has also refrained from commenting on Kading's research. Unfortunately, Anderson and Poochie have both been slain since then for different reasons. In the meantime, as is common knowledge, the investigation did not result in anyone being arrested or charged in connection with either of the homicides. But, according to Kading, the reason for this is that the department wasn't interested in prosecuting either of those cases as much as it was interested in debunking a conspiracy theory.
Unfortunately, it's an unprosecutable case for a variety of reasons.
In a federal wrongful death lawsuit, Biggie Smalls' mother even claimed that the department was trying to cover up an officer's involvement in her son's murder. That said, for those of you who are unaware of how Greg Kading reached these two conclusions, here's a backstory of what took place over the years of this investigation. Kading was dismissed from the task force in 2009 due to an internal affairs inquiry over a separate case before his team had finished constructing their cases. Despite being cleared of wrongdoing, he retired from the agency shortly after its task force was disbanded, whereas Kading presented their results in a self-published book titled Murder Rap in 2011. Michael Dorsey's documentary of the same theme, also titled Murder Rap, was then released on iTunes on February 2, 2016. Yet, what does the documentary Murder Rap bring to the table that wasn't included in the book? Well, there was a typo on one of the final pages of the book that stated that the vehicle that had Biggie's gun was a black Impala. This was an oversight on the editor's part. A green Impala was what it should have said. So then, the concerned body made the necessary adjustments in the documentary. They were aware that Poochie owned a vehicle that fits that description, as well as they knew that, according to reports, Knight had given in the vehicle in exchange for the purchase of 2 customized Chevrolets. Not to mention, they were aware that Suge's Impala had been painted a unique color as well, specifically black cherry. As a result, they were able to trace the sale of the green Impala all the way back to a Chevrolet dealership in Phoenix, Arizona. But by the time they found out about this information in 2009, those records were no longer available, so they were unable to follow a paper trail all the way back to 1995 or 1996 when the car was first ordered. Anywho, it's essentially Diddy's word against Kev D's in regard to his supposed role in Tupac's murder, right? Well, although Diddy had previously hinted that he wanted Suge and Tupac killed in public, the answer is yes. Unfortunately, we lack the means to verify that. The issue becomes more credible, though, after we verify the rest of what Kev D informed the police officials as per various reports. Contrarily, you can't link Biggie to Tupac's murder despite rumors to the contrary, can you? That will again be a yes, as there is zero evidence that he was aware of it or consented to it. After the event, it's also safe to presume he learned about it, but law enforcement officials don't appear to have any evidence to suggest he was aware in the first place. This gets us to our next list of questions. Suge Knight, who was in the car with Tupac and was shot in the head during the shooting in Las Vegas, has indicated he was the intended target. Yet, there are contradicting accounts that claim he was only lightly wounded. What is the reality then? Let's just say that you're really stretching the truth, Suge. You are not flat out lying, but you are misleading. That's because if a bullet fragment or piece of flying metal from inside an automobile lodge at the base of your skull, you can consider yourself shot in the head. On the other hand, That's not the same as being hit by a bullet that was aimed specifically at you. Undoubtedly, he was injured in the back of the head and received medical attention for the wound. They chose to leave a piece of metal near the base of his skull alone rather than risk doing additional harm with invasive surgery. Perhaps a bullet fragment or a shard of metal from the door impacted him, though we'll never know for sure.
However, after the assault, Tupac and Suge went to Mike Tyson's boxing match. It was on their way back from this event that tragedy struck.
But then, roughly everyone except assassin Orlando Anderson killed Tupac. Why then wasn't he found guilty and executed? Honestly, investigators in Las Vegas, especially Detective Kading, had a tough time because their suspects were located in far-off Compton. Nonetheless, the Compton Police Department went above and beyond to help out. But sure, Las Vegas police were there in Compton shortly after Tupac's murder, conducting search warrants and raids to gather any evidence they could from the residence where Orlando was eventually apprehended. Therefore, they could only rely on inferential evidence. They also had to stay within the law because they had no witnesses who could positively identify him as the gunman. The only evidence they had was a video of him being beaten up by Tupac and others at the MGM Grand just before Tupac was shot. The motivation is there, but he was not found at the crime scene. So there's that. Having said that, let's quickly do a recap of what we have covered up till now, and in what direction does it push us. A former member of the Los Angeles Police Department has asserted that music mogul Sean Diddy Combs paid a Crips gang member $1 million to carry out the murder of musician Tupac Shakur and his manager Marion Suge. Secondly, Greg Kading once served as the head of a special LAPD task force that investigated the shooting deaths of Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls, also known as the Notorious Big. Biggie Smalls was a close friend of Diddy's, and it is believed that was murdered as a form of retaliation for the murder of Tupac Shakur. Both Shakur and Smalls were gunned down, Tupac on September 13, 1996 in Las Vegas, and Smalls 6 months later in March 1997 in Los Angeles. Shakur was killed in a drive-by shooting. The assassinations were then interpreted as the bloody culmination of competition between artists and followers of the West Coast hip-hop scene and the East Coast hip-hop scene during the 1990s. Since then, the public has continued to be captivated by the mysteries surrounding the unsolved cases. Meanwhile, Kading asserts, on the basis of his 3 years of experience working on the cases, that Combs, once known as Puff Daddy, commissioned a member of the gang known as Dwayne Keith Hefty Davis to murder both Shakur and Knight. According to Kading, Davis's nephew Orlando Baby Lane Anderson was the one who carried out the shooting, where only Shakur sustained a life-threatening injury. According to Kading, in order to exact his revenge, Knight paid Blood's gang member Wardell Pucci Faust $13,000 to take the life of Smalls. Throughout the course of the investigation, Kading has claimed that he was successful in coercing a confession out of Kefty regarding the chain of events that culminated in Shakur's death. Because of yet another offense, Kefty was facing significant charges. On the other hand,
East Side Bloods like Ams, Luther Sparks, and the Moss wasn't even.
The investigation into both deaths was closed after Kading's team exonerated the department of any possibility of involvement, according to what he stated. According to Kading, the police further decided not to seek official charges because of Combs' celebrity profile and the fact that 2 of the suspects were found dead for unrelated reasons. Another reason was that the department did not want to pursue formal charges because 2 of the suspects were found dead. Moreover, Kading admitted that he was removed from the task force as a result of a separate internal affairs investigation. Although the investigation ultimately exonerated him of any misconduct, it contributed to his reputation as a rogue cop.
There's other things contributing to that whole thing. Suge's his own worst enemy. He was...
The Los Angeles Police Department also did not provide a statement after being contacted by multiple outlets of media. That's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Goodbye